Elizabeth? Are you ready? Oh, wow.
Good afternoon. Welcome, professors, family, friends, and most especially the 2013 graduating class of the Evelyn L. Spiro School of Nursing. We would like to take a moment to explain to you the momentous impact that this nursing program has had on our lives. Not long ago, I attended a scholarship dinner here at Wagner. At this event, the speaker, a very prominent businessman, mentioned he had recently received a call from Wagner asking him to increase his annual monetary donation to the school. He looked into the crowd and said to the audience, "In order for me to give more, I request that each student in the room do the same. Do more, give more. This time, not fiscally, but of yourselves." This became my motivation to put our passion for community health and diversity into action. Noelle and I have both learned through working in inner city hospitals that cultural competence is a necessary skill and is essential to patient advocacy and quality patient care. We were able to put our love of community health into teaching at El Centro del Inmigrante, where we spent many hours doing health screenings and teaching for undocumented immigrants in the Port Richmond area. The Port Richmond community of Staten Island, New York, is a densely populated community full of beautiful culture, but also tragic health disparities. Port Richmond is composed of primarily Hispanic individuals, many of which are undocumented. These immigrants traveled to the United States in order to make for themselves a better life than they were living in their countries of origin. Port Richmond is currently home to the city's fastest growing immigrant population, and between 2000 and 2010, Staten Island's Latino population grew more than 50%. Because of their immigration status, the undocumented population of Port Richmond has reached a level of extreme poverty, leaving them with limited access to health care. One of the individuals who call Port Richmond home, 33.4% of them are living at twice below the poverty level. Can you imagine? 1 in 4 adults in Port Richmond are uninsured or went without health insurance in the past year. The constant threat of deportation in this community is real, and safety from deportation by the U.S. government is first and foremost. Their fears prevent the obtainment of health insurance and proper health care, therefore making a low-income population one of great need. With this knowledge, Noelle and I began to educate ourselves on the monumental disparities in this community, and came to the awareness that Port Richmond has increased rates of obesity, cancer, and asthma, just to name a few. With the understanding that 1 in 7 of these adults consider themselves to be in poor health, we decided to take action to increase preventative healthcare measures by instituting health screenings and education into our work at Port Richmond. On our first visit to El Centro, we began with a discussion on nutrition and the importance of healthy eating habits to decrease signs and symptoms of depression. We began taking regularly scheduled blood pressure screenings on these individuals and found that surprisingly their blood pressures were low due to the massive amounts of physical labor these men and women perform daily, in addition to their healthy Hispanic diet. Initially and understandably, the individuals at El Centro had felt threatened by us as we were aware of their immigration status. In consecutive visits, many began to come listen to us speak. They were no longer weary of us. In fact, the community of El Centro began to open its arms, and they were able to speak freely, which was more moving than I could have ever possibly imagined. Noelle and I began speaking Spanish more frequently, and were able to interact with these individuals by immersing ourselves in their culture. On one particular visit to El Centro, while teaching about the liver, we were introduced to a man who smelled of alcohol and was complaining of pain in his right upper quadrant. After assessing him, we realized that the margins of his liver were palpable and he needed a referral. He began to cry, telling us he was afraid. He had been laboring without pay for weeks and sleeping on a cold concrete basement floor. He had not eaten in 2 days. Can you imagine? It was at this moment Noelle and I looked at each other and realized that this community was in far greater need than we had initially thought. We snapped into action and knew that our presence there needed to be increased. I cannot put into words the feeling that went through us when this man looked at us after teaching him, taking his blood pressure, speaking his language, simply smiling at him, just making him feel safe. God bless you, he said, as tears welled up in his eyes. We returned to El Centro 2 weeks later, this time toothbrushes and floss in hand, to offer our knowledge of oral hygiene. Initially, we began to feel silly as we demonstrated how to brush our teeth to these individuals. flossing our teeth in a large room with many faces looking on intently with many questions. But then we realized they had never been taught to brush their teeth. This was their first time. Can you imagine? From each person we were able to touch, I feel so fortunate to have met this community and been able to share myself with them, to learn from them. This community has taught me more than I could have ever learned in a textbook. They were my teachers, and for this experience, I thank them. This community continues to challenge us and has forced us to look out of our comfort zone to a place we had never been before. Here, we met people who didn't look like us or even speak the same language, but this is our passion, what we are meant to do, to give of ourselves to others, for that is the true definition of a nurse. With the help and guidance of Dr. Nancy Charovsky, Noelle and I were able to create the Wellness Program, which has become the newest addition to Wagner's Port Richmond partnership. We have laid the foundation for Wagner nursing students who come after us. We hope they continue what we have started at El Centro, to follow in our footsteps and enhance the health of this community one small step at a time. It is our goal to ensure that the highest level of quality patient care is given to those we will be fortunate enough to meet in this profession. This simple acknowledgement and respect of differences in language, religious practice, gender relations, and cultural tradition preserve the dignity of each individual, greatly enhancing their healing process. Whether it means being present for a specific religious practice or providing proper translation for a patient to communicate, ensuring a patient's physical, emotional, and spiritual needs are met helps show a patient he or she is your sole priority. It is our hope in the future to eliminate the health disparities within this community, and we know that our work at El Centro is far from complete. As the sun sets on our time here at Wagner, we realize we have been so fortunate to meet every single individual we have cared for. This school has fostered in us the love of people, and through nursing we have chosen to dedicate our lives to them. To the men and women of Port Richmond, we say, may the road rise up to meet you. Puede el camino se levantar para encontrarle. May the wind be always at your back. Puede siempre ser al viento en la espalda. May the sun shine warm upon your face. Puede el sol brillo guiarda sobre tu cara, and the rains fall soft upon your fields. Y la lluvia caiga suave sobre tus campos. And until we meet again, y hasta que nos volvamos a encontrar, may God hold you in the palm of his hand. Puede Dios la sostenga en la palma de su mano. To our graduating class, we offer our congratulations and would like to leave you with this. Every time we meet a patient, we listen to their heart. Listen for a beat, an abnormality, a rhythm. I challenge you each day to begin by listening to your own. Find your rhythm. Do more. Give more. So tell me, what is it you plan to do with this precious professional life? Can you imagine?